really literally do not have any travel time during the holidays, but I do spend a lot of time in the car transporting my kids. So I think that's why she asked. I don't know. Anyway, so maybe you're like me, and the big distance all the way down to Packardon Road is how far you have to travel. So you can redeem that small time, or you can redeem large chunks of time if you're going to Ohio or wherever you're driving. So anyway, I wanted to just give a couple suggestions and thoughts. You can take it or leave it. I do want to preface, in our household, we have lots of ideas and lots of pictures on how things are going to go when we create family times. And it's been funny because this year we've been really consistent on Sunday nights talking about the sermon. And every time, it's without fail, like someone derails our conversation, somebody decides it's time to do sit-ups during that time, somebody's punching somebody else, like it never goes as planned. But I don't think it matters if it goes as planned. I think it's the point that like we're making this a priority. So even in the vehicle, as your kids are like hitting each other or nobody's listening, or you think, oh, I planned the perfect scenario and it all goes not as planned, like it's still important to be prioritizing spiritual moments as a household. And so hopefully it'll give you some ideas. And then you can tell your own stories about how they didn't go as planned and how it was a disaster. But hopefully your kids will look back and think, wow, mom and dad were prioritizing conversations. And I was asking my boys, like, what do we do in the car that's been helpful to you? Or like what can you think of? And one of them said, I think we have more spiritual conversations as a family than anybody else I know. I don't know if that's true. And that's like I said, most of the time we're like super frustrated during those times. So I think what they're going to remember, though, is that we tried. So anyway, take that away, grain of salt. I feel like most of the time, like, let's be honest, Tim's usually mad and like, why aren't they listening? And I'm usually disrupting something because they call me the underminer. So that's just kind of how it goes.
Did you blame it all on Tim?
Totally. Anyway, so that's my first point. Be intentional. Create a plan, whatever it is, whatever will work best for your family. But it won't happen if you're not intentional, so be intentional.
At least in the car, they can't leave.
That's true. It's true.
Unless you kick them out. Have a captive on you.
That's exactly it.
Might have happened.
And you may want to include your kids in the plan, if you can. Ask them maybe some things that they might want to talk about together, or if they have any ideas. Especially with teenagers, I think it's really helpful if you're starting something new, trying to implement a new habit. To communicate with them ahead of time so that way they're anticipating, hey, we'd love to have a half hour to be able to talk about this on our trip, and we're going to have you set down your phones during that time. So that way they can know to anticipate it. Doesn't always make them happy about it, but it also helps give clear expectations so that they know what's coming. And as kids are older, probably not in your case, you don't have to worry about too much like screen time, but it's good to help them unplug as you're driving. And screens are also a good tool during that time too, so I'm not saying put them away the whole trip, but for part of it. There's lots of different car times during the holidays, during the school year, all the time. So one idea I had was to make prayer an emphasis. So maybe it's during the Advent season, your family comes up with a prayer initiative for the whole season. And maybe you're going to pray for somebody who doesn't know Jesus. Maybe you're going to pray for a family member. Maybe you're going to pray about a situation and take some concentrated time during the holidays to pray for. Maybe it's just even that each of you would be able to understand what God with us means. Like, could be anything. So maybe as a family, choose an idea of something to pray for. And then every time you get in the car, have somebody pray for that as you go. Or as you're going to school each morning, take turns. Like, okay, it's your turn to pray for that. To just focus. It could even just be something to focus your hearts for the season. And as you're going to extended families home, maybe you're traveling a distance, taking opportunities to pray for the interactions that you'll have. Sometimes family dynamics are stressful, and so taking opportunities as your family to pray for them could be helpful. Also, directed prayer times. I think it's helpful when, kids don't know how to pray unless we model it. So when we direct them and how to pray, it's really helpful. So maybe it's times as your family just taking times to thank God for who He is, or telling Him who He is and worshiping together. Maybe it's prayers of thanksgiving. Maybe it's prayers for each other, and you pray even just simple, quick prayers for each other. They won't know how to do it unless they hear you guys doing it. So car time is a good time for that. I find our best times to be able to worship and sing together are usually in the car. I think partially because who wants to sing together, like looking at each other in our living room? So, but if we're in the car, like everyone's facing the same direction. And so those have been good times of focus and worship. So maybe you have each member of your family pick a worship song, and then you make a playlist and you play those songs together and you worship together. We are not singers nor musical, so it's definitely a joyful noise to the Lord. So good thing He doesn't care. I love the Chris Tomlin's Adore Christmas album, like so worshipful, but also using specific ideas of the season, and that's a personal favorite. But using whatever tools. I think Mindy has some Seeds Christmas or Go Fish Snow Christmas and 2 acts. So anyway, there's lots of different resources. Spotify has lots of them too. But just finding ones that direct your heart to Jesus. I love Christmas music, so that one's easy for me to like tap into. But sometimes I get distracted by I'm dreaming of a white Christmas and forget to listen to the ones that actually stir my heart and soul. Also in the car, it's a good time to use the sights and sounds of the season too. So as you're driving around and noticing Christmas lights, taking opportunities to talk about how Jesus is the light of the world, or how we get to be the light, or even you can make a game out of it for younger kids, like every time you see an inflatable in the yard, you have to yell out something you're thankful for. But just using the different things, like, I know, totally cheesy, but using the different sights and sounds of the season to be able to direct their hearts to spiritual principles. This is a fun game to play throughout the year, so you can always make some sort of spiritual application out of anything. Just ask Trisha if you need some ideas. Also, during your car rides, you could listen to a podcast together, or read a devotional, or good time to memorize scripture, maybe repeating a verse that you guys might want to memorize as a family. So maybe that's a verse that you choose specific for Advent, and then each morning on the way to where a drop-off, you repeat it together. But as far as podcasts go, or a video, depending on your age of kids.
Oh, it's time.
Oh, it's time.
It's time.
Oh, I thought I would never fill the time. Anyway, so during those times, having a question or two that they might know about ahead of time that they could be listening for, so that way you can dialogue about it afterwards. All right, there you have it. That's it. So.